Hey, I'm Scott. I'm just wanting to make a quick little video and introduce a series that we're going to be doing on economic hardship. Been meeting a lot of people who have lost their businesses, lost their homes, and inflation is becoming a very real concern. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. And I think knowledge is power, right? So we want to empower ourselves for what could be coming. If we're wrong and it doesn't come, then thank God for that. But I think it's a good time to just talk about everyday practical things that can help our families, can help us. So if there is a lot of economic pressure through inflation and such, we're prepared. So we've got a bunch of resources to talk to. I'm gonna put on a podcast here in the next week or two with Venezuela, Alberto in Venezuela. He's been there through the whole currency troubles they've had there and hyperinflation. He was saying to me recently, Scott, and the figures may not be exact, but you'll get the idea of what I'm saying. He said our government was telling us we were on 2% inflation when we were on 100% inflation. He said we're now over 1,000,000% inflation. And he just gave a lot of great practical tips to prepare our families and friends. And he sent messages saying, Scott, you have to tell people these things. You have to tell people how to prepare, because once it's happened, it's too late. He said we have massive suicide, massive family breakdowns, massive stress on our communities, excuse me, because of what's happened here. He said, but people can prepare. There are practical things you can do. And we're going to talk about that in this series. How to prepare your family, how to have little, maybe home-based business type things that are a lot more tolerant or robust during high inflation. Essential things that he said, Alberto said, stress. They have to adapt now, get into things that are essential that people can't live without, and that'll be your safeguard. So we're just gonna talk about some of those sort of things here, and I wanted to introduce it with this. I know it's a difficult subject to approach because we all tend to want to just bury our head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. People say, well, this is Australia or this is America. I'm in Australia currently. But the reality of it is our prices are going up. The reality of it is inflation is a tax that steals from us while we sleep. You got $100,000 in the bank and a 50% inflation. Doesn't take a genius to figure out that your money's not what it was. So we get lured into seeing the numbers and think that we're okay. The numbers are lying to us. And so anyway, we're going to talk about how to prepare. So in the middle of all of this with freedom fighting, which is so important, and the war in Ukraine, which is so tragic, and wars and rumors of wars, and I like what the Bible says, man's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming on them in the end. And I am just here to say we don't have to let fear dictate to us. Let's get educated, think about inflation, have the hard conversations that we don't want to have or we don't know how to have. What does it look like? How's it going to affect us? What are the things we can do that have worked overseas? We're going to hear from Raul from Brazil. They went to bed with a cruzario many years ago and woke up with the real as their new currency. And when they complained, the government said, you want a country? This is what happens. So it's not going to be a series telling you where to invest, but it's going to be a series just talking about practical things from practical people that have worked. Prepping is not really the answer, as they call it in America. Become a prepper. I mean, don't run your life through fear. We're going to make decisions based in peace, and we're not going to react, we're going to act. And then when if things go crazy, we've had actions in place for a time, so we are prepared. So again, we are not reacting, we are acting. We are not acting in fear, we're acting in faith that things will be all right as we prepare. So anyway, stay tuned. Probably next week. I've just got to try to catch up with Venezuela. It's not always easy with the time differences, but we'll have that, and then we'll have Brazil, and we'll even have some of the US, and other folks that we know in other parts of the world, in Europe and whatnot, that can comment on what's going on. Let's get educated. Let's stand together. Let's live that spirit of community that we're seeing through these freedom movements. If you can get to one of those freedom movements, get out there. Your life will never be the same. Don't be afraid of it. Go and just enjoy the freedom and the life.